What is up? This is the War Dog. Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Theater with my main man and my co-host, JR. What's going on, JR?
What's up, War Dog?
Not much, man. Just chilling in this Georgia heat, and I'm loving it. I love the Georgia heat. So today we got two awesome guests. We got William Pace. We know him from Facebook, the Facebook community. He's also one of the main people at Outright Geekery. I don't know his exact position. Sorry, William, you're going to have to forgive me. But I know William writes awesome reviews on some books, and I always check him out because I appreciate William's opinion. We also got Jesse James. I'm sorry, I don't know your comic shop. Jesse, what's your comic shop? Shout it out for us.
Jesse James Comics in Glendale, Arizona.
All right, so we've got Jesse James from Jesse James Comics in Glendale, Arizona, and Jesse is also a friend that we made on Facebook. He's got an awesome shop. He's doing really well, and he's going to talk a little bit about the whole comic industry. And he does this awesome event where they try to break the Guinness Book of World Records for making the fastest comic. So hopefully he can talk about that with us a little bit as well. So, John, I'm going to pass it over to you. You do your thing, and I'll shut up.
It's all good, man. So, yeah, we've got a packed show today, guys. We're gonna start out here with Jesse and talk to him a little bit about the state of local comic shops in America as far as that goes. Because I know, like Todd was saying, I've been following posts of yours. I've been following the channel that you have on Facebook for sales and stuff like that with comics. And in right now, my understanding from just anecdotally, you see all over the place on social media where LCSs are closing, or they're struggling, or they're needing help from a Kickstarter, these kind of things. And of most of the LCSs that I've heard of, that's not really been a thing for you, Jesse. What can you give us a little? I'm not asking for trade secrets here, but kind of what's the secret to your success right now, and what's going on out there?
Well, I think with us, we started August 28th, 2009, and we came in. I came from corporate America, and I saw an opportunity in this industry to bring better customer service. And so everything really started with our business, with just customer service. How do we give great customer service? If you go to our eBay page, we have 81,000 feedback. We've never had a neutral. We've never had a negative. We're the only store in Diamond to win BPA Best Customer Service. So I think it starts with customer service. Everything else I can tell you about, but if you don't attach customer service to it, it's totally useless. And so what we did was, we were one of the top 10 stores in the world for new issues, Diamond, and over 425 box orders. But about a year and 3 weeks ago, we said, What are we doing? We're spending $8,000 a week to make 1,000, and we're hoping that 400 people come in and pick up their boxes. So we made one of the hardest decisions, I think, this day for a comic book store, was we dropped new issues. We didn't drop new issues because we didn't have the money to pay for it. We just dropped it because business sense for us, it didn't make sense. We sell a ton of back issues. People don't understand that 80% of the sales worldwide are back issues. 20% are only new issues, and that's based on a Wednesday. So what we decided was, if we're going to drop new issues and we're then let go of 425 box holders, where do we get that business from? Well, we took our 1 million+ comics and we said, well, how do we sell them? So we already knew we were selling on eBay and all the other sources, wholesale, mass market, and all this great stuff that brings in great income. But I said, one day I was watching Home Shopping Network. Don't ask me why I was watching Home Shopping Network. I think someone put it on. I just happened to be walking by. And this lady was selling this watch. And she said, this is the greatest watch we've ever had on Home Shopping Network. And people are buying it. And all of a sudden they sold out. And she picks up another watch and she goes, oh my gosh, we just got this watch, and this watch is awesome. It's the greatest one we ever had. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. The last watch was the greatest one that you ever had, and you sold out. So I said, why couldn't we create a network that allowed comic book stores across the nation to sell books any time of the day to a mass group of vetted customers? And so we created Comic Book Shopping Network. And it allows our partners to sell books all day long. I think approval rate for people joining Comic Book Shopping Network is 65%. We vet everybody. And it gives that store the opportunity to make more money. So if you're carrying new issues and you're short, you have this opportunity to turn on the camera and say, okay, I need $400. Let's rock and roll. So our success wasn't based on a Wednesday. It's based on 7 days a week, 365 days a year. How did I sell comic books? Not new issues, not back issues. How did I just sell comic books? And so I know it sounds almost like a weird answer to say we are successful because we sell comic books. But what we do is we sell comic books that comes with one of the best customer service services out on the market. And that takes a lot of coaching, and it takes a lot of ignoring. I think we have to ignore what goes on with other stores across the nation. And if they want our help, we will show them how to be successful. But if they turn around and they just say, listen, I got new issues and I got to sell new issues, I can't help them. And I think that's what's happened when people rely on new issues so much to control your business by one entity. It kind of, there's no other industry that does it. So I know that's a long answer, but it's the truth. You go out, you sell comic books. These stores that do the GoFundMes and all this stuff, I go on their pages and I say, well, wait a minute, you don't have an eBay page. You're not selling live to customers. So if you're only waiting for people to walk in your store when you have millions of customers, 2.8 million people on Facebook are noted as comic book fans, not movie fans. You have 2.8 million people that aren't looking to walk into a store. They're looking for you to get their business.
Oh yeah, that's something that it's honestly, it's hit me here locally. Because and Todd can attest to this. William has seen my posts on the Collector's Corner and stuff like this. I'm not a fan of people doing the GoFundMes or the crowdfunding to save their local comic shop. Now, granted, a comic shop is a much different entity than almost any other type of retail establishment that we all deal with, or service establishment that we deal with. You go in, you cultivate a friendship with the guy or the gal behind the counter. You start to talk about things like your love for Spider-Man or your love for Batman or Lady Death or fill in the blank. Yeah, and there was a reason I said Batman. Anyway, you start to talk about those, and people become your friends. And I think that to a certain extent, the customer and the shop owner both lose the focus of, I am a business. I've got to make sure the lights stay on. I have to make sure that my family's fed. But then on top of that, now we're friends too. Like you say, it's very different. So I get the emotionalness of, I've got to save my LCS. I've got to do what I can. If they've got a broken business model, you're only putting a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
That's my opinion on that. And like I say, I don't think that you're in any danger of needing a GoFundMe. Your decision to go away from Diamond, it sounds like it was a relatively easy decision to make at the end of the
Yeah, for me, it was because I have a fantastic relationship with Diamond. I'm good friends with Josh Jeppy. I talk to Steve Jeppy, and I understand relationships last for a long time. So just because I depart from one company doesn't mean I still are friends with them and can conduct business accordingly. The key to the comic book LCS stores, you have two types of store owners. You have a comic book store owner who's a fanboy who, oh my gosh, I've got to own a comic book store. I've been doing this since ever. Me, I started working in a comic book store January 25th, 1982. This is my first day working in a comic book store. I have a picture of me selling my first book. It's an amazing, amazing thing. If you look, the second week they had Jack Kirby in the store. I'm watching the line as a 5 foot, 82-pound guy trying to keep people from cutting in line to Jack Kirby. But then you have the second store owner, and I get in trouble every time I say this, and I don't care. I've always said stuff when I believe in it. I believe there's people like myself who are a businessman who just happen to sell comics. And if you get that notion that you got to be a businessman, and if I go out and do a GoFundMe and I say, listen, I got to pay my back rent and I got to pay my power, that's great and that's dandy, but who's paying it next month? And if there's no plan for your future, keeping that store open for a couple more months makes no sense. I made a conscious decision. I talked to Diamond for weeks before I made this decision. I said, listen, this might be coming, so that they knew that one day I was just going to say, listen, I just can't conduct business this way. My business will be better if you aren't my partners right now. Now in the future, we might, who knows? But right now, my business is amazing. My margins are amazing. I'm very open about last year I dropped $700,000 in sales. $700,000 in sales for a local comic book store is a lot, but guess what? I can spend $625,000. Now I do half of that, but guess what? I make 95% profit on everything I sell. I sell a $1 book, I'm making 92 cents. So you sell a new issue book for $4, you make $1.25. So if you do the math and all the work that you do, that's a constant 52 weeks, no end in time, plus free comic book day, plus all these other measures. If you approach me on a GoFundMe or a crowdfunder, you have to put that in there and say, how are you preparing yourself for free comic book day next year? It can't be help me pay my rent. Listen, I have empathy for stores that need help, but you got to prove to me that you tried every measure first. I will tell you this, and I'm not going to tell you the store that did it, but a store last year did a GoFundMe, and I said, how much money do you need? So they told me how much money they need. I said, I'm going to write you a check right now. How much do you owe Diamond? XYZ. I'm going to write this check to Diamond. Oh, no. Send the money to us. No, buddy. I'm going to help you. I'm going to pay your bills. And then let's see what you do. I'm not giving you money. And so at the end of the day, a local comic book store has to make very hard decisions. And that hard decision is, do I sell comic books to anybody, or do I become a selective store that is only relevant on Wednesday? And if you're only relevant on Wednesdays and there's 7 days in the week, you're bound to run out of money. It's just the way it is. There's a thing in the comic book world, I post on Collector's Corner a ton. You never see me promoting my store. Oh, buy this, buy that. No, I love comic books. Your passion for comic books has to outweigh everything else. But when it comes to business decisions, make those business decisions. Make sure they're smart. Make sure they're about longevity. And at the end of the day, I think you have to be your brand. And if you go to Collector's Corner, there's so many people that will email me and we'll be talking. They're like, whoa, you own a comic book store? Yeah, I do, but I'm not here promoting my comic book store. But at the end of the day, someone buys a book and they say, oh, Jesse James Comics on eBay. I know that guy. I'll buy it from him. So a comic book store owner, before he goes out and grabs money and funds, show me how you tried first. And there's some people out there, trust me, Comic Book Shopping Network sounds easy, but some people can't get in front of a camera. It's just tough for them. Some people can't even talk on a camera. So I get it. We're introverts when we own comic book stores. We try to do our best job by knowing everything, knowing that every single comic book fan knows more than me when they walk in on Wednesdays. It's just the fact. I don't read Bleeding Cool. I don't read Comic Vine. So,
right. Well, and I, like you say, it's hit me locally. the last post from the comic book store that, and anybody who, I don't really want to bring them up because it's one of those things where the truth of the matter is they're a failing business and they're getting ready to go out of business here locally, and they've kind of undertones of blaming it completely on the comic book community here, when case in point, we have multiple vintage stocks, which are chain stores. We have 2 full-time comic book stores, one that only does back issues like what you do,
Yeah.
on a much smaller scale, but still they're doing it the right way. Another one that is a new comic book, and they do card games and stuff like that to supplement as well. But the last post from June 1st from these folks shows 6 stacks, at least 50 comic books high, of people that did not come in to pick up their pull lists. Now this is the kicker, I get it. Sometimes people flake and don't do the pull list the way they should, but from the story that was written on Bleeding Cool about this store, they've been holding some of these books for 8 months, for crying out loud.
Sure.
Nobody in their right mind is going to hold a brand new comic book for 8 months for somebody. That's broken. And if they can't acknowledge that, then that's on them. William, I just real quick, I'm going to ask you. You live out on the East Coast there. You guys have any of these same issues in the more major metro areas out on the East Coast?
Yeah, they've had some, not around me. I'm south of Boston. And my LCS, I actually used to work there at one point. Had been in business with the original owner, and then the manager of the store at the time ended up taking over the business when the original owner was like, I'm done. And it was either he bought out the business or he had to go look for a job, so he just bought out the business and took it over. So I've been going there, let's see, I'm going to be 50 the end of the year, and I've been going there since I was 15.
Finally, we have a guest that's older than Todd is. Finally.
There you go. Yeah. So I just broke 50, so I kind of laughed when he said, I'm almost to 50. You know, the one thing I wanted to say that I thought was very important that you said was the store blame the community. In this community nowadays is the world. And you have this opportunity to sell people around the world. When I see people show stacks of books, you're showing me you have no business sense. You're showing people that you have lack of business sense. I tell you what, take that stack, go put them on eBay, go put them on Amazon, do a sell those books. You showing me a stack? That means nothing to me. At the end of the day, there's a simple code that we have as comic book store owners. Real life happens. Your best comic shopper doesn't show up at 3:30 on Wednesday because you know everybody shows up at their right times. We don't sit there and say, oh my gosh, you forgot about us. We call them and we say, hey, forget about your books. Are you okay? You know what? I just lost my job. You know what? Let's figure out a way to get it. When I see people with stacks like that, that means they had zero conversation. Hey, I tell you what, I can't get to the store. No problem at all. I'll PayPal invoice you right now. I can't afford them all at once. No, we'll allow you to do partial payments. So at the end of the day, just like William up in Boston, what he does has, a couple stores out there who have closed stores, but those stores have closed stores because it made business sense. Hey, Larry closed the store. Why? Because it made business sense. We can't allow our egos to push us to another week because of our ego. If it doesn't make sense, you close the store. You can always get customers their books. Customer loyalty is amazing. I tell people this, customers are loyal to the store that has the product they need to fill their collection. But that's the comic book fan. Their loyalty is to everybody. Yeah, there's 1 or 2 stores they won't shop with. Okay, I get that. But other than that, a store that doesn't have the book, listen, I'm on eBay. When we were the #1 eBay store in the world about 3 years ago, we were shipping out about 5,000 books a week. We were amazed at how many books went to California, Texas, Florida, New York. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? Where are those stores? Oh, we don't have that. Well, then they're giving me their business. We put nice little flyers in there. So I challenge stores to be more conscious to business sense and then be fans of comics on the flip side. But you had to have business sense. People walk into a store and they shake that owner's hand or whatever, talk or whatever it is. They know if that store is in trouble. Comic book store owners suck at masking news. They just do. So we have become a better store, a stronger store. We still deal with all our customers that buy new issues, that have boxes with us. They buy our back issues from us. Diamond worked with a young lady to bring her in the store and sublease, so she has new issues in the store starting in a week. That's her. That's their thing. Awesome, great guys. Go sell your new issues. I tell you what, at the end of the day, I'm going to get rent. I don't have to carry new issues. People can come into the store and get their new issues and then buy their back issues from me. Right. There's always a way. I just think, yeah, we just made it too easy sometimes for people to get out. So I know sometimes I come across as a very brash businessman, but people like honesty. And if you then go out of business, just don't go out of business. Give your comic book fan a chance to explore and go someplace else. Don't leave them out in the cold.
Right. Well, and that's, hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not making any fans locally as far as what I've had to say about this comic book store closing down, because like I say, I am a fierce defender of local comic book shops, artists, and then the comic book community as a whole. Are we going to have some jerks in all of those areas? Of course we are. But for one to start, I mean, that's, you know, I'm repping my Collector's Corner t-shirt today on the podcast. Things that we don't put up with there is, you're not going to rag on LCSs. You're not going to rag on creator artists. That's not going to be a thing. Now, if a creator artist comes on and they start boohooing about, hey, my reach isn't what I thought it was going to be here in this group, I've made 2 posts and I've got a total of 5 likes between all the posts. Chill. That's not how it works. You build like what we're talking about here with Jesse. You build your brand, you build your identity, and you continue to cultivate it. Look, I can't do what Todd does. I can't do that. I can't rock the Slash wig on occasion. I don't play with my action figures and make little cutout faces and of other members of the corner. I don't do that. I'm not that creative like that. But I know random dumb stuff that sometimes people find amusing about comic books, and that's who I am. Now, Todd tells me I have the gift of gab a little bit as well, so I'll own that as well. But the truth of the matter is just like that, like you're talking about, building a brand, doing it the right way, being truthful to people. That's the other thing that we kind of pride ourselves on at the Collector's Corner. I know Outright Geekery, they're going to, William, I'm not sure if you were aware of this or not. I talked to Henry about this. I'm going to be writing a companion piece to what we're talking about today. And I've reached out to Diamond myself just as a fan to try and get a few more metrics on what's going on, because I've reached out to other people. They've told me that there are actually more Diamond accounts now than there have been in like the last 2 years. So my question to them is, that's great. I understand that your business is booming, but what is the coverage there? Are we talking about all of these in major metro areas? Are we talking about not an actual brick and mortar comic book store?
Right.
Are we talking about somebody that's online only?
Sure.
Those are retailers too. I don't fault them. I'm a capitalist, man.
Sure.
Money how you
Well,
make money.
yeah, and here's the thing with that. It's very easy to say you had more stores than 2 years ago when you lost so many stores over the last 3 years. So if you had more stores than you have in 2 years, but you lost more stores and you take equated numbers and you take the chart, you'll see they've had less stores. But that's so immaterial. More stores, less stores, how is your service going to get better? So if one of the biggest stores at that time, was only getting 80% of my product every single week, I don't care if you add 500 stores. Get me my product. It's kind of funny. Branding is a very big metric, and when you brand with partners. So you brand with Diamond. I've decided I'm one of the few stores in the world. I have a Boom boutique. Guess what? Guess who supplies those books? Boom. I have a Lady Death boutique. Guess who supplies those books? Lady Death Universe, Coffin Comics. I have a BDI boutique, and I'm talking about 300, 400 square feet boutiques. I have a CGC section that has 1,500 CGCs supplied by all publishers. So at the end of the day, branding means you forget about Diamond. Diamond is just delivering you books. How do you work with all these brands? How do you make your brands together? An average store, 10 minutes. Okay. An average store in their lifetime will do 12 exclusives. That's a lot of exclusives. You're spending a lot of money to do these exclusives. I know Mal High has done 150, 160, Midtown Comics 150. I've done 267 exclusives. You don't do 267 exclusives, all successful exclusives, unless you know what you're doing. And you don't do them unless you have great partners that want you to be successful. Great stores don't do Detective 1000. They go out and they go to Black Mask and they do We Can Never Go Home. Or you go out and do Four Kids Walk Into the Bank. Hey, that becomes a show. Guess what? Hey, Matt, thank you for allowing me to do that exclusive. We sold out of 400 copies 2 Wednesdays ago. Why? Because we partnered with a company and a publisher, and we vetted that book, and we said, in the future, Matt is going to do a good job. So at the end of the day, I will tell you, only person that you have to look at in the mirror in the morning, your biggest competition, you wake up, you look in the mirror, and you tell that person in the mirror to work harder for your customers. Then you might work with Diamond, but you go work with the publishers. Diamond is just a shipper. And until stores realize they're just a shipper, they're not your business partner. Your business partner are the publishers. And so stores have to get out and they have to work with these publishers. I have not carried New Issues for a year and 3 weeks. I talk to every single publisher once a week. I don't know why. It's the fact that we don't want our brand to be separated. We still sell their back issues. We're announcing a big company that we're doing a boutique for next week. So I guess at the end of the day, if you're a local comic book store owner, you have to look beyond excuses. Well, Diamond doesn't get me my books, or Diamond doesn't do this, or who cares? Listen, when we were short books, guess where we went? We went to our neighbor stores and we bought them off the shelves so that our customers got their books. I didn't care if I paid full price. It's the fact that my customer doesn't have to go someplace else. So I understand that this is really about how our LCS is going to survive. How are the ones that are closing? How did they look at that light down the tunnel? I know a store owner in Detroit wrote an op-ed yesterday. Yeah, if you go down to the bottom, someone wrote to him, listen, if you don't like who you're with, move on, baby. And so I think that's what the comic book world is down to. And if local comic book stores want to hold on to those pennies every week, or they want to be successful and sell customers around the world, then you need to do what we're doing right now. We turn on your phone, you log in, you tell your customers, come shop with me, local pickup, you're good to go. So I'm always excited because when I see someone passionate about their store closing, but I also understand it's about moving on. Comic book fans move on. You know, there's an old saying: comic book fans never stop collecting comics. We just get rebooted in the future, and that's what you're doing. You're going to have to reboot to a new comic book store,
Yeah.
and so, anyways.
No, man, that's exactly, and honestly, like you know, we talked beforehand, and this is the conversation I expected to have with you, just because you've been honest and upfront about these things through social media and stuff like this before. I know you're. I was talking before you got in the recording with us here. I'm not sure when you ever sleep, but that's kind of a little beside the point because you're always
Right.
hustling and stuff. And I know you got some other stuff to do this
Yeah.
evening. I'm going to give the floor to Todd and William. You guys have any other questions for Jesse?
No, I get it. It's you're not so much selling comics as you're selling customer service.
Yeah.
But when they leave the online store or your physical store, they leave with a bunch of happiness that we call comics.
There you go. Listen, I mean, just jump on that real fast. A question: when I used to speak at summits at Diamond, someone asked me what the greatest thing about being a comic book store owner was, and people down the road, there was 5 of us. Oh, we get free San Diego tickets. Oh my gosh, I get to see the books and read the books one day early. And I said a simple phrase that resonates. The greatest thing about being a comic book store owner is watching a customer walk out the door with a bag full of comics. Comic book therapy is the greatest thing in the world. You work all day, you work hard, people are yelling at you, yet you come in the store and you get your comics. And I truly believe that customer service, comic book therapy, you put that all together, it's the greatest thing in the world. And, you know, and real fast, I want to talk about the Guinness Book of World Records because you guys asked about that before I left. So next week in Las Vegas, we are going to retake our Guinness Book of World Records. It's 141 people did a comic book in Australia. We're doing it with 158 people at Las Vegas, amazing Arizona, or Las Vegas. Oh my gosh, amazing Las Vegas Con with Jimmy J. Sean DeBrumbum is my partner in this. We're going to break our 11-hour feat. We're going to produce the comic, have it ready to sell in 9 hours and 15 minutes. So I'm excited. I'm always pumped up. The question about when I sleep, January 17th, 2020. Guys, I really appreciate it. William, finally, nice getting ready to talk to you as well. I love all the Boston comic book fans. There's Boston comic book fans, but Massachusetts comic book fans are just amazing. Not to take away from the other customers, the Boston fans really are awesome. So anyways, guys, I gotta go. I actually, believe it or not, I have 110 people in the store playing right now. So I'm supposed to be managing that. So guys, I appreciate the time. It's been an honor to be with you guys today. And anytime you need me, just give me a holler and I'll come on with you guys.
Awesome, brother.
Thank you, Jesse, for joining us. Appreciate you.
All right.
Give it some time. We're going to switch gears here a little bit and talk a little bit about what's going on in 2019 with nerd culture TV and comic book TV. The latest cancellation was DC Universe's Swamp Thing, that after one aired episode, they canceled it. Now they're going to obviously air the entire rest of the season, but before the second episode. Now, mind you, Swamp Thing is, and we can get into the particulars on Swamp Thing. I really think Swamp Thing was just completely terribly unlucky with circumstances and really had nothing at all to do cancellation-wise with either fan appreciation or with the actual content. But I wrote down a list here of the shows that are either ending in 2019 or have been canceled in 2019. We talked about this a little bit last week. The Tick got canceled from Amazon. Swamp Thing, Happy on the Sci-Fi Channel, Gotham it is ending naturally, but they actually cut. They were going to do like 3 more seasons, and at the end of last season, said, "Hey, we're cutting you down to 1 season. Wrap it up." Legion was only slated for 3 seasons, so they're on their third. Deadly Class gets canned after 1 season, which is a travesty. iZombie is leaving. Supernatural, which there is a prequel comic book out there, but that's nerd culture as it gets. Supernatural, I think that show has probably run its course. Arrow, The Gifted got axed with a semi cliffhanger at the end of it, which is kind of sad. Mr. Robot is another one of those on USA Network that has been nerd culture since day one, has kind of a Fight Club feel to it. And then, of course, we talked as well about Game of Thrones ending the way that it did. William, man, of those shows, and again, we're not even accounting for the Netflix with the Disney streaming service and stuff like that. Give me your favorites out of that are either ending or canceled, and where you hope, if they got canceled, do you have any real hope that they would get picked up somewhere else?
Well, with the premature cancellations like Swamp Thing, I just wrote another piece on that tonight. Swamp Thing series axed after six days after premiere. Now I'm a huge DC fan. I'm not a DC or a Marvel fan. I'm an everything fan. But I grew up in the 70s, and we had the reruns of the old Adam West Batman show. We had the reruns of the old black and white Christopher Reeve Superman show. And we had Super Friends. We had the 68 Spider-Man cartoon that I used to see like every afternoon in syndication after school. But outside of like one Spider-Man cartoon, everything was DC animation. You had Batman cartoons, Superman cartoons, Superboy cartoons, and the old 60s stuff that had like Hawkman and Green Lantern and, Teen Titans, like early animation when Marvel was still doing the paper cutouts moving around. So I was attracted to the DC stuff because I'm a huge Batman fan, because that's what I grew up on. But Marvel, I've always read and collected Amazing Spider-Man and The Incredible Hulk. Now The Immortal Hulk, which is, in my opinion, the best-selling book on the market right now. But the one show that I would want to come back is never coming back, which is, from what I see now, is Swamp Thing, because of all the money mismanagement and it comes and a lot of the nothing's been clarified yet. I've reached out to Dan Viadillo from DC to try to get their official statement on where they land with everything, but I haven't heard back from him or Scott Snyder. So,
well, and it's one of those
first
deals,
episode of that.
it's one of those deals with Swamp Thing. It really feels as though there just a confluence of errors and calamities surrounding it. They cut the season before it even premiered. They let everybody know it was originally going to be 13 episodes. We're bumping it down to 10. Didn't give any explanation on why. Then you get the cancellation after the first episode, before the second episode airs. Then you start having, and it looks like one of the places that I had been doing some research through and listing, they've actually updated their story like 3 times now, and they're starting to. Originally, they were saying that half of the budget for for Swamp Thing was going to be covered in tax incentive rebate type things. So 40 of the 80 million was supposed to be covered. And then it turned out that was only 14 of the 80 million, which gave them obviously a $26 million shortfall there of funding that they definitely thought that they had coming to them. Now, to me, and again, they have kind of backtracked from that from one of the sources. I tend to believe that that is, while the numbers may not be 100% accurate, it sounds very likely that that's what happened, that an error in where their funding was coming from happened, and so it was more expensive than they thought it was going to be, and so they axed it. Now, this is my beef with that is, you should not be relying as a private business on funding from the public sector, from government. That's just my opinion. Now, I know that there will be some people out there that say it makes good economic sense for the state to continue to drive that economic engine, etc. I don't know that I buy it, to be honest with you. It almost never works out the way that politicians say that it's going to work out. You know what I mean?
Well, this is a big key to understanding a lot of this is understanding how TV shows and movies are actually made. Pretty much every state has a funding to have filming done in their state for TV shows, specials, what have you. And if it's TV, it's, capped at a certain amount. If it's movies, you're talking like, Avengers, you're talking like, hundreds of millions of dollars. But some of the stuff I read started off where the politicians in North Carolina thought that they had a $67 million overage in their film fund. And they did not. And they found out that the money basically all the money that they had supposedly promised DC Warner Brothers for them filming Swamp Thing there, turns out that was their entire budget to kick out these tax rebates for the year. Because what happens is the TV shows will turn around and they'll like the production company, in this case Warner Brothers, would take the $40 million in tax credits, the tax rebates. They wouldn't use them. They would sell them to another company to recoup that money. And it would usually be to bring like a new business into the state, and they would sell them that to move the business from this state to that state, and however it works. Now, Titans got to get greenlit for a second season right away. The difference between Titans and Swamp Thing is the fact that because Titans was so popularized at the launch, pre-launch of DC Universe app, and it was only going to be able to be seen on the app, and the app wasn't international, Netflix cut a deal with DC Universe to show those episodes internationally. So the overseas market, to show them overseas. Now, if Swamp Thing had gotten the same deal, something similar to that with any other carrier, they wouldn't have had this problem. But typical politician, promises are made, and
yeah. I mean, and like you say, that's one of the reasons why I don't. It's one of the reasons why I don't like it when private businesses rely on government for part of their funding. That goes for professional sports teams. That goes for movie production, TV show production, all of those things. And I get that's the world we live in, but I'm just not a fan of it. And I mean, you know, I'm in Missouri, so you know, like the Rams leaving and going back to Los Angeles is still pretty fresh in our minds around here, even though I'm a lifelong Chiefs fan. I feel for my friends that live in St. Louis that you know, they lost the Rams. You know, they're I know you're a Boston guy, so you're watching the Stanley Cup, I'm sure, and rooting against the Blues and all that fun stuff. And you know, it all comes circled back to all of those professional sports teams are making billions of dollars. They're all worth billions of dollars. They should not have any need of corporate welfare.
Too.
What's that now?
They're all nonprofit organizations too.
Yeah.
The biggest gazillionaire nonprofit in existence.
Absolutely.
Right behind the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Now, and I, you know, separation of church and state, that one is something that's been with us since day one as far as a country. So I kind of get that one a little bit more. I know there's an argument to be made and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's some of these tax incentives just don't make good sense for a business to rely on that kind of thing. And we're getting off on a tangent here a little bit, but I think it's worth pointing out that is a legitimate concern if that's what all of our shows that we enjoy are relying on. Todd, I was going to ask you, man, out of the cancellation or shows ending, which one are you going to miss the most?
Actually, you know, I just started watching Swamp Thing. Episode 2 just came out. I'm totally digging it. I like the show. I like what they're doing. It's got this horror feel to it, so that you're not, you know, it doesn't just appeal to comic book fans. It appeals to like horror fans as well. And so it's a little bit disappointing to see a show like that just go to the wayside, you know, based on what you were talking about. You know, politicians screwing up, or the companies that are actually producing this actually screwing up, and relying on politicians to, you know, fund their show. But I mean, Swamp Thing, 2 episodes in, I'm locked in. I'm looking forward to more episodes. You know, I know they're saying it's going to go like 10 episodes. I can't wait. I think it's a great show. You know, the one show that I like the most outside of the DC universe. Well, it's not outside the DC universe, but the Flash. I mean, for me, as long as the Flash keeps going, I'm pretty happy. I understand that Arrow probably needs to end. It's been going pretty long. Supernatural has been going pretty long. So, I mean, there are some shows that probably need to end. You know, I haven't seen Deadly Class yet, but I know you said that one's pretty good. It's a little disappointing that one's going to end. I hope that the one on Netflix, I can't think of the name of it.
Umbrella Academy?
Yes, I hope Umbrella Academy continues.
Yeah, that's already been greenlit for a 2nd season.
Yeah, that one was cool. I really enjoyed that one. I can't wait to see what happens. I know Jessica Jones has got a 3rd season going on with Fool Killer maybe coming in.
Yep.
So I'm kind of excited about that. It's a shame that these companies, you know, these streaming companies, they're all fighting for this revenue, and that they can't work together in some way so that we can get the shows that we want. That's one of the biggest disappointments, I think, of all this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, the lineup that I just gave you of 12 shows right there, you're telling me that you couldn't do 3 of these shows, hour-long episodes, and basically you could carry a network with that lineup. And mind you, look, Game of Thrones, we all knew that was coming to an end. That would, but if HBO was willing to syndicate it out, people are going to watch reruns of that as long as they possibly can. Same thing with Supernatural. Supernatural will have that same kind of effect like The Office or Scrubs or any of those. I mean, you guys all know we already went over this with ad nauseum already, I'm sure, but I'm really disappointed that the Tick didn't get more. You guys know I'm plugged in, man. I'm not some just guy who's like, well, I wonder what's going on in comic books right now. The Tick season, it was 2 weeks before they were dropping the season again, before the Tick Facebook page said anything about it, had any kind of promo at all. And I'm thinking to myself, how is anybody supposed to get excited about this? Every other show that's doing this kind of stuff, they have a social media presence. They're leaking on-set photos. They're throwing promo stuff out there all the time. Nothing. 2 weeks before the show drops, and that's when I knew it was doomed, frankly. But as a fan, I hoped against all hope. But then you look at Legion. Now, Legion is one of those that's ending naturally. They said it was a 3-season arc from the very beginning. Man, that has been a wild and crazy ride as far as it's like you're watching an hour-long Pink Floyd video. I mean, it just is. You don't really have to be a fan of Legion or know really what's going on. Just sit there and enjoy the craziness that's happening in front of your face and know that it's going somewhere. And they do start tying some stuff together here and there. But I think it's true to the idea of the character that was presented in New Mutants originally, where he wasn't all the way with it, wasn't always sure what reality was, kind of stuff. So I'm missing that. But Deadly Class is the one that just really, dang, man. You were talking about Umbrella Academy. William, you've seen Deadly Class.
Yeah.
It's a more mature version of, in my opinion, it's more mature and more sophisticated than Umbrella Academy. And that's not to downplay Umbrella Academy. I enjoyed Umbrella Academy. It was great. Deadly Class, set in the 80s, so it's kind of like a period piece, kind of, you know what I mean? And the soundtrack was freaking awesome. The way they worked in some of the actual comic book art into the episodes and stuff like that. There was just nothing not to like as a comic book fan about that series. And they didn't even, like, they really pubbed it for the very first episode and made a big, huge, hairy deal about the first episode. And then after that, nothing.
John, I think the biggest concern that I have is where do we go from here? I mean, they're canceling all these shows, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, what are we going to do next? Like, what's going to happen next? I mean, William, what do you think? I mean, what do you
I think you're going to buy a whole bunch of comic books off me because you're going to have no shows to watch.
Yeah. I don't doubt that at all.
Well,
we will have to be buying some comic books.
Like something that I've known for a while, the CW show, the CW DC shows, like, loved Arrow from the get-go, love the Flash, and them doing the whole 4-point thing. Was blown away the first time I saw a trailer from last year for Crisis. And that's basically how they're taking Arrow out, is through the Crisis. Through this Crisis here, which is going to be 5 episodes.
That's going to be awesome.
So you're going to have Supergirl, Arrow, Flash, Legends, and the debut of the Batwoman series.
I'm looking forward to the Batwoman series. That one, I mean, if they're not careful, it could go very hokey and very wrong in a hurry. But I think that way something just came to mind. Is Black Lightning, did it get canned as well? Or is it still going? Because
Yeah.
I lost track of that show.
Out of all the CW shows, like, because I watch them all on DVR status, or I get the CW app on my Roku TV, so I can watch them anytime there. Which is that's what I usually do when I'm sitting back reading a big stack of comics. I'll put the CW app on and just let it run crazy on the superhero shows.
Right.
Background, but I loved Black Lightning.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Black Lightning.
It was a really good show. I just lost track of it on my DVR. There are certain movies and stuff on my DVR that kind of perpetually are there, so that when I get a hankering to watch them, they're just there. But just like that, I kind of, with Gotham, for instance, you're rocking your Batman pride right now. I look at all the TV shows as kind of Elseworld what ifs, and I think you've said that in the past as well, William. That they're not canon. They can't be the same as comic books because they're different mediums. That's my opinion, and that's why I'm okay if they don't follow directly canon, as long as they're entertaining, well written, and well acted. I'm gonna get down with it. I'm really on the last 2 episodes of Gotham. Are the only 2 that I haven't watched yet, and it's kind of because I think they went a little bit too far with Bane. That's just me. I don't know if anybody else did. You follow Gotham at all?
Yeah, I binge everything, but yeah, I got it up on when I switched over to I didn't have cable or anything. I was using I got that YouTube TV now.
Right.
And so I can search anything and watch, like, back episodes for whatever, and I can set stuff to record. They give you a unlimited DVR space for up to 9 months, so it won't auto erase anything until it's been there, for 9 months. So 9 months in a day, it goes away. But other than that, it's it gives you plenty of time to get caught up and watch things. Right. So I kept falling asleep because my trips in and out of the hospital. But I finally got through the last season, and I thought it was good, but it was like, this should have been like 4 or 5 more episodes longer, because it was like a gradual progression up to like episode like 6 or 7, and then it was like, oh, we don't have 3 seasons to do this. We got to do this in 3 episodes, and they just crammed everything in.
Yeah, that's the way that I've felt with this whole last season of Gotham. Was it felt that they were trying to put a nice, neat little bow on every single one of the storylines.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion on it is when you realize, whenever they tell you have a third of the time left that you thought you had left, You can't wrap up every storyline. You just can't. Tell the best possible story you can to conclude what's going on, and that way at least people feel like they got a quality product out of it. They don't feel as though, like what we're talking about, where it feels very rushed in the last season, and later down the road with some time maybe it will come back and rewatch it and not feel as rushed. But I kind of doubt it, because like you say, it felt like they were cramming everything in that they could possibly cram in and put a nice little neat bow on it, and it just wasn't the right way to execute it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what's really scary though is when you talk about all these shows that are being canceled. I mean, and that's where I go back to, like, what's next. I mean, you think about, like, okay, Daredevil's canceled, Punisher's canceled, all these Marvel shows are canceled. What's there for the future? I mean, because you got the Marvel comic universe, right? And then you got the Netflix shows, right, with like Daredevil and some of the lesser characters. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. I know people might like these characters, but they're probably like the lesser. But okay, do we see a future of additional shows? I mean, Daredevil kind of fit with Netflix. Punisher kind of fit with Netflix. Jessica Jones kind of fit with Netflix. But then when you look at Marvel, you start to see, like, you got the Marvel comic universe. Well, who fills that gap between those two? Between the Netflix and the Marvel comic universe, what shows are we going to get? I'm really fearful that we might not get these shows again, because I can't think of any other characters out there that fit into that Netflix kind of a show. And the same thing with, like, Swamp Thing being canceled. I mean, what are the DC characters that can fill that little Netflix gap? Because I do enjoy those Netflix shows, and I because like William said, you could sit down and you could binge watch them. You could watch a whole season, and it's like you watch two movies, but you don't have to sit in the theater. You could sit at your house and watch it for like 2 weekends, and you're fulfilled. I'm afraid of what's going to fill that gap. I mean, I'm excited for like Umbrella Academy for the next season, but where's the Marvel? Where's the DC? What's going to happen?
Okay, well, here's what I'm excited about. I'm excited for the new contract that Netflix has with Millar World, and the fact that, like I've been saying for months, and nobody said, well, where's your proof? Where's your proof? Well, here's my proof like magic. Alakazam, The Magic Order, is going to be a series on Netflix. They've already signed off on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely has been. The Millar World is definitely something that's going to, I don't know how well it will replace it. Of course, like I said before, the writing, the production, the acting, if it's telling an entertaining story, I'm in. I'm good with it. It does not necessarily have, an Umbrella Academy proves that point, and so is Deadly Class, that it doesn't have to be a superhero. It does not have to be the traditional big two for it to be something that comic book fans, I think, will get invested in. Now, with the Disney streaming service, I think a lot of those shows that you were talking about, Todd, from Netflix, they're too adult for the Disney streaming or the Marvel streaming service. The Marvel streaming service is going to be family-friendly, kid-friendly, like PG-13 at the worst. The Punishers, that's TVMA, man. There's too much blood and guts in that for it to be anything less. Now, my opinion on that is because Disney has controlling interest in Hulu, likely those shows will pop up on Hulu at some point if they get revived. You know, some of these actors may not want to hang out and wait for their contracts to expire. They're going to go on to different projects and fulfill their need to be creative in other roles.
which is already being done, like we see on the Swamp Thing. Abby Arcane is portrayed by a certain mobster's daughter from the last season of Gotham.
There you go. There you go.
The Disney plan is this: D+, which, you know, when you get D+ is like a huge package, and there's, when it comes up on your TV, you have, like, you know, Disney Kids, Disney Family, Marvel, and, you know, the MCU, which includes the MCU and the new shows that they've already announced, like, you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier and
WandaVision
and Wasp, and, you know, whatever else they're going to do. All those shows are going to be on D+. But with their controlling interest in Hulu, they've already upped for another season of Runaways. So that's continuing. And they've already announced that they're going to develop shows that are, you know, anything that's more violent and like TVMA and above are all going to Hulu. So we're getting a Ghost Rider show. Unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, it's not Ghost Rider. It's a guy with a flaming skull that drives a car. Ghost Rider drives a friggin' motorcycle. End of story.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's hard to be as cool as Ghost Rider is and be confined inside of doors and have four wheels and stuff like that. Like, it just now mind you, I think it's done in the name of diversity. That's my opinion on that. Not going to make any further statements on it as far as how I feel about that, other than to say I'm cool with diversity if it's done well. If it's diversity for diversity's sake and poorly executed, it ends up hurting. It ends up hurting more than it ends up helping. So execution is going to be very key there.
They're also, for Hulu, they also have plans to develop Damien Hellstrom, Son of Satan.
Yes, Son of Satan, which I have been honestly, I've said this on the podcast before. We don't shy away from speculation and stuff like that as far as recommending spec buys and stuff like that to people. Like, look, I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not telling you to go out and spend the rent to buy these books or any of that silliness. You do that, that's on you. But this, I think it's Spotlight 32 is Son of Satan's first full appearance, and then Rise of the Midnight Sun, or not Rise of the Midnight Suns, but the first appearance of the Midnight Suns is Ghost Rider Volume 2, number 28. And the one to get there is make sure it's polybagged so that all of the stuff is there with it. Whenever you go to send it in to be graded or whatever, they'll take it out of the polybag, but it will then be 100% certain that it's complete, and you get the highest possible grade out of it that way. But I mean, it's one of those deals where I've bought 2 of the Marvel Spotlights, and they are, by the way, I'm looking up just to make sure I'm giving you the right one. I'm looking it up on Key Collector app. Marvel Spotlight 12, I was way off. Marvel Spotlight 12, his first full appearance of Son of Satan. And I picked up two of them and paid under $5 a piece on them, speculation buys because of Key Collector. Now the other one too, like I say, is the Ghost Rider 28 from Volume 2, the Midnight Suns. Dollar bins, man. You should be able to find those in dollar bins by the fistfuls. But if New Mutants 98 has taught me anything, scarcity on a book like that doesn't mean diddly poo if the character becomes, or the team becomes popular enough. If it's executed well, those dollar bin books may end up being $20, $30 books at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, New Mutants number 98 was probably never a dollar bin book. I mean, if you found it in a dollar bin, you're pretty lucky. But I remember being a kid and seeing that on the wall for like $10, and my paper didn't pay me enough to be able to pick that one up.
In the very, very late 90s, you might have found it in dollar bins, but it's more about I guess my comment is more about the fact that that's a really overproduced book. The only time in my opinion, the only time you should be paying a real premium for New Mutants 98 is whenever it's in an extremely high grade. But the market feels differently on that. The market says that is a, $200 to $300 book, and if it's in those excessively high grades, 9, 8, and above, that's when you get into silly money for a book that has hundreds of thousands of copies out there still. It's not like we're talking about Amazing Fantasies 15, or we're talking about Action Comics 1 that went through paper drives of World War II and stuff. We're not talking about those. We're talking about something that people were collecting. They were bagging and boarding stuff. It was a very, very high print run book.
Still valuable, though.
Oh, no. Not discounting. Not discounting. It's absolutely, but it's up there with Amazing Spider-Man 300, which I'm a huge fan of. I have one proudly displayed in my home that is an 8.5 newsstand edition. I love that book to death, but both of those books are, comparatively speaking to the amount of books that are out there, probably a little overvalued. Probably. Both of them.
Thank you, Ryan Reynolds. You made me some money, brother. The
market is overvalued on just about everything because, going back a couple of decades, we used to rely on, price guides where at the most they would, upgrade the standings like every quarter. And now everything is on eBay. So eBay is the measuring stick, but the problem with eBay is for the collector purpose is the fact that, people, not mentioning Todd, but people will get drunk at night and go on eBay and, pay $100 for Dark Hawk #1.
Yeah.
So, like in the case with anything, something's only worth as much as somebody's willing to pay for it. But when you have millions of people, being able to see whatever you're selling, like Jesse James said, like 24/7.
If you're willing to wait, my key for anybody, and this is something where I really had hoped that I would wait and share this after we had developed a little bit more as a show, but I'm gonna spill the beans here, guys. Patience. You have to be patient when you are looking to buy key books. You have to be willing to grind it out the patience and the grinding together, you can score seriously nice books on, maybe not on the dirt cheap, but far below what eBay prices are. Now, sometimes you can get them from eBay anyway and be under what eBay prices are. But honestly, with me, yeah, you got to be a sniper. That's exactly right. You got to know, but you got to do your research. You got to know, okay, this is the best. If I'm a seller, I want all of my auctions to end on this day at this time, because this is when these books sell for the most, because the right audience is looking at that moment. Almost nobody follows an auction from beginning to end. You know what I mean? Almost everybody is looking at ending soonest on eBay. Well, if I'm following a guy and I'm up at a point in time where, let's say, Hawaii is really the only section of the world there that would be up and awake and really, really searching through eBay, the window for people who are looking for the same books that I am are going to be drastically more limited than if I wait till Eastern Standard Time in the middle of, in the middle of like a Monday or a Tuesday night, whenever people are they're not going out and partying or anything like that. They're sitting at home just kind of unwinding from a work day and saying, let's check on eBay. Oh yeah, that's cool. Let's bid on that. There's strategy involved there. But it's one of those things where, like I say, the patience, grinding, being willing to look everywhere for books, and you can find them, and ask for the discounts. Don't be afraid to walk into a store and they got the wall book up there for $350. I'm not saying walk in there and pull a Pawn Stars on and be like, I got $350 for you. You got $3.50. Don't do dumb stuff like that. But don't be afraid to say, would you consider taking $275 on that book? Because I've been in here for 6 months straight. That book it hasn't even been dusted since the first time I walked in here. $275 in cash money sounds a lot better than that wall book hanging out there, getting sun faded. You can sell a guy on it. You just got to have them see, like Jesse was talking about, have them see the value in what it is that you're giving to them versus what they have. You can make that deal happen. I know we kind of got off on a tangent there after talking about these shows going off. We can bring it back though to the shows. Batwoman is coming. Let's see here. We talked about the Hellstrom and Son of Satan and the Ghost Rider.
Those Ghost Rider and Son of Satan are in development.
Right. They're not 100%, but let's be real, they're probably coming. I have heard, the other rumors that I have heard is Wesley Snipes is looking at trying to get back into the superhero genre by hook or by crook. He obviously is more interested in trying to reportray Blade in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
But he's talking, and who knows if anything will ever come of that. But the other one that everybody has always been speculating, at least for the last 2 or 3 years have been speculating on, is Moon Knight coming in some way, shape, or form. I don't think he fits into the MCU, so that leaves him for something like Hulu. Todd, do you follow any of those rumors, or have you heard any other rumors? Todd, you're muted.
I seen something about some of the movies that were coming up, and Black Panther and Moon Knight was supposed to be like the next one that was going to come up. So there's a possibility that we could see Moon Knight in the next Black Panther movie.
I could, you know what? I know I said he doesn't fit in the MCU. I guess I meant more of maybe not a feature in the MCU as far as his own title. I could totally see him being a supporting character, a secondary character in the MCU first, and then possibly like Black Widow, getting his own movie after that.
He would be a great Netflix or Disney, whatever streaming service carries him. He would be a great character in those different platforms, because of the fact that he's a little bit of a dark character. He's a little bit different, but like I said, I seen something where there was the future movies that were coming up. The next one was supposed to be Black Panther and Moon Knight. So I don't know how Black Panther and Moon Knight fit together, but if you're bringing Moon Knight into it, hey, I got his first appearance. I mean, bring him in. I need the extra funds.
I saw a post where, and it wasn't confirmed. It wasn't confirmed through us, so we didn't get any solid ground on it, because there's so many pop culture sites that just go off. They want the clickbait, so they go off the fan rumors, and they just throw the gasoline on the fire to try to get those clicks. And but I did see one post where it said supposedly, unconfirmed by us, that Disney was going to confirm Moon Knight for an upcoming appearance in the MCU for the next phase.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of like you say, William, I look at some of those as clickbait, but on the flip side, I'm also a believer that where there's smoke, there's fire. There's been a lot of smoke on Moon Knight for, like you said, the better part of 3 years, maybe longer than that even. So I get the feeling that if somebody like Ryan Reynolds took Deadpool and wanted to own it as being Deadpool, if you found a movie star or a TV star that said, Moon Knight, that's who I want to be. I want to be Moon Knight. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you I can be Moon Knight. They would, I think they would, in today's day and age, I think they'd almost be foolish not to make a Moon Knight at that point, because the outcry has been so vocal and around for so long.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate thing is that Moon Knight debuted in Werewolf by Night, and so it would be really cool to have a werewolf and this is where the Netflix thing kind of comes in. It would be really cool to have the Netflix show like Werewolf by Night, or like Dracula, the old school Marvel where they did the monsters. It would be really cool to see Moon Knight debut there. But I can see him possibly debuting in a Black Panther movie because, Moon Knight is based off of Egypt. And so, if Wakanda's in Africa and Moon Knight's in Africa, there is the possibility of that connection between the two. I don't know how he would fit in the whole Wakanda story, but it would be interesting to see.
Not, in other words, you're saying it's not so far-fetched that they could fit together, and I could see that. I'm not the biggest Moon Knight fan. I bought I bought a collection that ended up having Werewolf by Night in it, the first appearance of Moon Knight. And honestly, I had that book in my possession for about 48 hours before I flipped it. So like it was not something on my radar that I was ever going to keep in my own personal collection. I mean, you know, I flipped out of that book so that I could buy a different book that's going to, you know, that is a part of my collection. And so, you know, we've talked about that in the past too, of how you can kind of use comic books to fund other comic books and what have you. Yeah, that is, like you say, I know that there's enough of a groundswell of fans looking for Moon Knight that it would be silly of them not to capitalize on that. Whether it be a movie or a show, either or. Um, let I'm trying to think here. Now, I included Mr. Robot. Do either of you guys watch Mr. Robot at all?
I don't know.
No,
Okay.
no.
I watched the first season of it and have kind of fallen out. It's like anything else, just not prioritized it. It was a good show. Had kind of a Fight Club feel to it. I included it because basically, like I say, I feel like it's part of nerd culture, and that it is a good show, but it's one of those kind of like Black Lightning. It ended up on the DVR, and other things pushed it off the DVR, and it just kind of is what it is. I didn't prioritize it at the time, but we'll probably try and binge watch it at some point. I'm trying to think if there are any other shows. I never really got into iZombie. Either you guys watched that?
I watched it at the beginning because iZombie's been canceled more than once.
Right.
Through the fact that they had nothing else in development and were just going to put in reruns, and they saw through, you know, the online fans that, you know, they wanted more. You know, personally, I watched iZombie because she was hot.
There are worse reasons to watch a show, honestly.
You know, it's like, you know, but she's a zombie. Well, you know, she's not going to eat my brain. She'll go hungry.
And what's your point? Kind of, yeah. That's where I'd be too.
Yeah, and she's hot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually a good reason.
It's a good indicator that if your female lead is more attractive, the heterosexual male population will be more interested in whatever it is she's in. That's, I mean, the logic there is flawless.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I think we pretty much covered everything. We should probably wrap this one up.
Right on.
Do you guys got any points you want to make before we wrap this one up?
Let's do some final thoughts here. William, we'll let you go first.
I'm pretty sure with the Swamp Thing, we haven't seen any resolution to it, you know, yet. And there's so many he said, she said things that I'm sure this story is going to be going on for weeks. I just posted a couple of talking points with some screen caps from Twitter, you know, going around things. One of them was from Project Runner down in North Carolina, and one of them is one of the writers from movies.com. That's up running on the banner on outrightgeekery.com right now. It went live with only a couple of hours before we kicked off here.
Right on. I will have to look that up now. At some point, I didn't have that open in my browser, but I will definitely look that up. Todd, you got any last thoughts?
No, I'm looking forward to Absolute Carnage by Donny Cates. I hope that outsells X-Men #1, like he said it would. But other than that, I'm good.
Right on, dude. Well, I my final thought is is kind of we talked about this. We've been trying to talk about it at the end of every podcast. Of course, like, share, and subscribe for future content. It helps us to grow the channel. For if you're commenting and letting us know what it is that the listener wants, that's what we're here. We're an extension of the comic book community and the nerd culture. We're here because we know that you're out there. Then and to piggyback on that just slightly, if you will head over to the Comic Book Theater Podcast Facebook page and join, we actually have a giveaway. I hinted at it last week whenever we were talking about the Kingdom Come tie-in for Young Justice that's coming down the pipes. That is part of what the giveaway is going to be, is the 4-issue set of Kingdom Come. I'm going to add in some autographed comic books. We've talked about some spec books. I'm willing to add in some successful spec books and some future spec books. And who knows? I might have found another one to add in at some point. I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see what happens with the giveaway. Instructions on how to enter are there. William's already given me grief about it being terribly difficult. You have to have a college degree, maybe a master's, to get entered. But by golly, I'm not giving away crappy comic books. I'm giving away good stuff that you will want, not just garbage. So anyway, that's my final thought. Go enter our contest.
Words and no pictures. I couldn't deal with it.
Well, that's the point. If you're listening to the podcast, you're going to know more than other people know about what I'm giving away, because that's what we want. We want people to listen
all the way to the end.
Next time, can you make the post in comic book form so I can follow the panels?
Dude, hey, I know a guy who does comic books. Hey, Todd, you know a guy, right?
Yeah, I actually wrote one. Holy smokes!
No, that's not the name of it. It's the crew.
Guys, crew, yes.
Yes, be looking out for your. Oh yeah, do your remind people to do their backer kits and whatever on Kickstarter.
The survey.
Yeah, their surveys.
Yes, there's about 20 people that have to do their surveys. Get on there, do the survey. We're gonna have a thank you page. We want to put your name in the book, so that you'll be immortalized in comics for the rest of your life. You could show your kids, you could show your family, and we're looking at printers. We're ready to go. So once we get these backers done, we're ready to rock. So thank you, everybody.
Cool. I can get my name in the comic book. All the glory,
Nice.
none of the work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to do it for sure.
All right, well, peace out, everybody.
Be good.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem.